Lezi izindaba zeThembisa online. Right ake sikubingelele sikwamukele sawubona igama lami ngingumfanelo UPhenyibheshu ngingwakwa Dzanibe isibongo. Sikwethulela izindaba konke okwenzekayo endaweni yaseThembisa, Ivory Park, Rabe Ridge nezindawo ezisungezile. Sikwethulela umbiko lapho sithi khona uhulumeni wesifundazwe saseGauteng ngaphansi ke komnyango wezezimali nokuthuthukiswa kwezeminotho oholwa ke ungqongqoshe umhlonishwa ke uLebohang Maile namuhla wethule uhlelo okuhlelo lokukhula kanjalo ke nokuthuthukiswa komnotho olubizwa ukuthi iGauteng City Region Economic Growth and Development. Uhlelo ke lolu olubhekele umnyaka ka2020. Kanti ke singakubalula ukuthi ke nonduna kulesifundazwe saseGauteng umhlonishwa uPanyaza Lesufi naye ke ukhona kulolu hlelo njengalokhu ke lwethulwa lapha ke endaweni yaseParktown. Sikhona ke sithembisa online. Ake sethameleke inkulumo kaNgqongqoshe womnyango kwezezimali nokuthuthukiswa kwezeminotho umhlonishwa uLebohang Maile.
Improved intergovernmental cooperation and greater collaboration between government, business and civil society is essential for ensuring that the cities and towns stretching across and beyond the boundaries of the Gauteng province can work better as a more integrated, productive and sustainable whole. The plan which the Premier will comprehensively elaborate on. So I was not giving you the plan. I was just setting the scene in case you are asking, what is the plan? So the Premier will comprehensively elaborate on, and the other speakers as well. So it also outlines a targeted 5-year implementation program to be executed in collaboration with the Gauteng provincial government departments, the municipalities, academic institutions, and industry partners. This coordinated approach is designed to accelerate provincial economic performance and drive meaningful contribution to sustained GDP growth by 2030. Linked to the plan, we have also developed sector plans for 11 high growth sectors. These sectors include ICT and digital services, transport and logistics, cultural and creative industries, agro-processing, mining, green economy and energy, clothing, textile, leather and footwear, aerospace and defense, pharmaceutical and medical devices, automotive and tourism. These sectors attract significant venture capital and require skilled labor. Thus, they did not only expand faster than others because of the rising demand for their products and services, but they also contribute significantly to job creation, which creates multiplier effects in the city region and broader national economy. Today, we will also be launching these industry-led action labs, whose objective is to advance the plan with the partnerships and collaboration with the private sector, academia, and civil society. These action labs signal a move from state-centric implementation in collaborative governance using sector master plans. And HOD of our department will then provide further elaboration on the labs and their importance to the economic growth prospects of the Gauteng city region. So ladies and gentlemen, I wish to conclude this input by emphasizing the significance of growing the economy of the Gauteng city region, which is the nerve center of the national economy. For the Gauteng provincial government, growing the economy is not simply a question of money. It is fundamentally a question of ensuring that the economy grows in the hands of the people. For this reason, our priority is not just economic growth, but inclusive economic growth linked to human development. We recognize that inclusive economic growth ensures that all members of society, particularly marginalized groups, contribute to and benefit from economic progress, fostering poverty reduction, reduced inequality, and sustainable long-term economic stability. This is the kind of economy we are striving to have in the Gauteng city region, and we believe that with sustained partnerships and collaboration with all stakeholders, this vision is not only possible, but inevitable. So, The program director had already indicated that the Premier of the province, the Honorable Panyaza Lesufi, will come and deliver the keynote address before he leaves. So it gives me honor and privilege, ladies and gentlemen, to ask the Premier of Gauteng province to come and address us. Thank you very much.
Kanti-ke undunankulu wesifundazwe sase-Gauteng umhlonishwa uPanyaza Lesufi naye wethule inkulumo yosuku ngalo lolu hlelo lokukhuliswa komnotho nokuthuthukiswa kwawo-ke umnotho ngaphansi-ke kwesifundazwe sase-Gauteng. Ake sethamele inkulumo yakhe.
Ladies and gentlemen, if we can't get Gauteng right, we're not going to get South Africa right. As the economic engine of South Africa, we have no choice as Gauteng to respond to the commitment that has been outlined by the 7th administration under the leadership of our Honorable President Cyril Ramaphosa. And the priorities of South Africa are very clear. There are three. The President said to us, the first priority of our country is to grow the economy of our country. And by extension, you eliminate unemployment and create opportunities for everyone. Today, as a Gauteng government, we are the only province to say in growing that economy, what is it that we think Gauteng should do? Hence the plan that we're outlining. And I want to thank MEC Maile and the team for the hard work. The second aspect of the priority of our country is to fight inflation, that is the cost of living. And our approach as Gauteng is that to fight the cost of living and ensure that the cost of living is not high, government must do what governments must do. Ensure that you offer quality public goods. Me and you, we know the reason why we have medical aid is purely because we don't trust public good that is called the health system. And that is why we've got medical aid. Me and you, we know the reason why we are taking our children to private education is because the public good that is public education, it's not there. Me and you, we know why we've got alarms, security guards, and all security doors is because the public good, that is the police, sometimes doesn't respond when you need their cover. Me and you, we know the reason why we're affected now by the war in Middle East is one reason only. The price of energy or fuel will go up purely because the public good, that is public transport, it's not there. It is these issues that we believe as the Gauteng government that we must turn them around as part of our contribution to ensure that indeed we lower the cost of living in our province and by extension in our country. The third area that was outlined by our president as a priority of the country is to build the capacity of the state. That the state must offer certain services as the state, rather than strip off the power of the state and rely on third parties to render those services. You all know, and I'm glad that the editor of Business Day was saying that was born and bred here in our province or in our city of Johannesburg. And the first thing is what? It's potholes. Because the state does not have the capacity to fill potholes, we have to rely on third parties to fill those potholes. And after they filled that pothole, their business comes to an end. And when cloud starts to gather, the pothole opens. Even before the rain starts to rain, the pothole opens so that they can get business again. And we just have to build the capacity of the state so that we can do it on our own, so that we don't rely on third-party states. So these three priorities call upon us as the Gauteng government to respond to them. And by responding, we must put concrete plans on the table. And that is why I felt that even the golf can wait so that we can outline to you the future of this province. We can outline to you the action labs that we believe will be the base and the cornerstone of growing the economy of Gauteng. MEC Maile has outlined 11 of them, but 3 are very important to us. We must be the home of innovation. We must be the home of new ideas. We must be the home of artificial intelligence. I always argue, Stone Age didn't end because that generation ran out of stones. Stone Age ended because new ideas were planted. We should position ourselves as Gauteng as the home of new ideas, the home of innovation, and the home of creativity. And therefore, ICT must be the cornerstone of everything that we need to do. And that is why we've managed to attract all best ICT companies to have their head offices in Gauteng, but most importantly, to operate from our province. And we have managed to bring even the biggest data centers that have been built start to be built in our province, so that they become the base of driving the economy of Gauteng. And the second area is infrastructure, and we're going big on this one. Because if we can't expand the infrastructure of our province, it will be extremely difficult for people to move around or for goods to move around. And therefore, the infrastructure development of our province becomes the key area in which we need to invest and position our province to attend to these issues. And for now, we've dealt with 3 of them. The first one, I know many people, when we said this, they thought that we were responding to public pressure. When we came in as the 6th administration, before we migrated to the 7th administration, our argument was very clear. Our highways and freeways in the morning and in the afternoon, they're nothing else but parking bays. If you can't unlock that, we are delaying the economic growth of our province, which simply means we must broaden our roads, we must build new highways, and we must ensure that our road infrastructure can accommodate the movement of goods and the movement of people. And therefore, we had to take a very bitter decision to scrap the e-tolls. Even though national government didn't agree with us, we said to national government, we can't grow the economy, we can't expand our roads, we can't remove the parking bays in the morning, in the afternoon, purely because people are boycotting to pay these e-tolls. And we continue to pay the interest of the investment and the loans that we've acquired out of these e-tolls. And therefore, it's very important that we scrap the e-tolls. We are prepared as the Gauteng provincial government, against the wishes of our people and against our priorities, to swallow this bitter pill and ensure that we pay the e-tolls. So we're slapped with a huge multi-billion bill. We are glad that we are halfway. The good thing is that Sanral now can raise funds, and Sanral now is expanding, and we have settled the e-toll debt, and we're about to see new freeways being built in our lifetime. And that's the commitment we took as a provincial government. Against all odds, against the insults, against those that felt that this is the wrong decision, on the basis that these e-tolls are not Gauteng e-tolls, are national e-tolls, but we find ourselves here. The second area is rail. We are of the strong view that we need to bring rail at the center of economic development. We had a rail expansion in terms of the Gautrain, that the Gautrain has demonstrated that is an investment that can bring additional resources. When we started the Gautrain, we invested almost 26 billion. In 10 days' time, it will now be 52 billion handed over back to us. And we are taking that 52 billion, reinvesting it to expand the rail infrastructure in our province, to ensure that we can go to Roodepoort, we can go to Springs, we can eliminate the traffic here in 4 ways, but ensure that also the rail transport accommodate our people in Soweto, Atteridgeville, and other areas. We are also investing in 2 speed trains. The speed train to Limpopo, as MEC Maile has indicated, Limpopo must grow towards us. Northwest, in particular Rustenburg, must grow towards us. Sasolburg, or here in Free State, it must not go to Bloemfontein. It must come to Vereeniging. Harrismith, which is a strategic center for logistics, because when you are in Harrismith, you are 300 kilometers from Durban, 300 kilometers from Bloemfontein, 300 kilometers from Johannesburg, 300 kilometers from Nelspruit. So Harrismith must grow towards us as a province. And therefore, it's very important that these logistical hubs are strengthened and given the necessary support, utilizing the speed train. And that speed train must move people and goods. It must not be about people alone. And that is why our decision to say the speed train to Durban must significantly pass through Harrismith before it goes to Durban, and the speed train to Limpopo must take care of Mosina, so that we can be in a position to grow the economy of our province. We are looking at possibilities of growing also to that side. And the last area, which is very important beyond rail, is the agricultural component of our agro-processing. To us is the new economy. And if you check the Department of Agriculture, the work that they've done, and the areas in which they believe that they need to put some investment in, we are of the strong view that we will defeat hunger through Gauteng and will take advantage of our positioning to penetrate the continent and take advantage of the Africa Free Trade arrangements that have been announced. So these three areas outlined our commitment to have an economic plan that works, an economic plan that responds to the challenges of our country, an economic plan that can reposition Gauteng to remain the engine of our country and ensure that it creates opportunities for everyone. So we are quite excited that you are all here, not only to share or hear our ideas, but to contribute to it, because we don't want to miss the mark. You miss the mark, the price is too hard to pay. So we need those that are in the sectors, we need those that are academics, we need those that are the implementers of this economic development to advise us whether we are on the right path or we've missed the mark, so that we can align as quickly as possible and ensure that everything that we do it with you. So MEC Maile outlined key strategic areas. We will share with you the strategic importance of the research that we have made and the path that we are taking and the research that backs us up on the areas of investment. So the key thrust of this transformation plan, it's not to divert or to divert or to walk away from the transformation, modernization, and reindustrialization program that we launched in 2014. But South Africa, and the province of Gauteng in particular, faces structural constraints which call for structural renewal. And this is our plan to renew Gauteng. You get Gauteng right, we'll get South Africa right. You get Gauteng right, you will attract investment to the hub of our country, and those investments must create opportunities for all. I wish you well, and I'm looking forward to a debate and discussions. Let's get South Africa working, but most importantly, let's get Gauteng working. Thank you so much for your attention.
Kanike umhlonishwa umnumzane Motlatjo Moholwa okunguyena oyisikhulu esiphezulu kuona ke umnyango ukuthuthukisa kwezeminotho ubekeke uhlelo oluyizigaba ezi12 ecacisa kabanzi ngokufanele kwenziwe ngalolu hlelo lokukhuliswa nokuthuthukiswa komnotho. Ake sethamele inkulumo yakhe.
So I've titled our presentation this morning as Executing GCR Economic Growth and Development Plan. And I'm going to quickly touch on those 4 key areas. Of course, starting nicely with introduction and ending with the macroeconomic impact of the plan if we implement it properly. I think Premier and MEC, they've articulated our problem statement. But what I would like to say is that we are not throwing our hands in the air. We have not given up. We've got a plan, and we think this plan can take us forward. The idea of the plan is to ensure that we are able to operate on the production and possibility frontier. But we also like to make sure that we are not ending there. Through research, innovation, and development, we want to keep on pushing the boundaries up. In simple terms, we'd like to make sure that we shift the production and possibility frontier curve upward. Of course, our plan is not just floating in the air. It's anchored on these 3 priorities that Premier and MEC have eloquently articulated. So the plan is just not floating in the air, as I said. Maybe it's important to just give you a snapshot of this plan, what this plan about, before I can get into how are we going to execute it. The plan has got 12 pillars. These pillars are interconnected. These pillars have got about 4 cross-cutting pillars that the Premier and MEC talked about. I'm not going to go deep into these pillars, but it's important to say that our first pillar is the one that deals with industrialization. We need to make sure that we develop our sectors, we grow them, we make them more competitive. But we don't want to end there. We also want to make sure that we are able to attract investment to the province, both domestic as well as foreign direct investment. But the other important thing is also the issue of trade. We're a small country, we're a small province compared to the rest of the world in terms of population. So it's important to trade with the rest of the world. Of course, charity begins at home, starting with our continent. So it's very important to make sure that all these sectors that the Premier and MSC have articulated, they are firing in all cylinders, so that we have got our own products that are produced here that can be exported to the continent and the rest of the world. And that's why we have got a Gauteng Investment Conference. It's our dedicated, our focused approach to bring as much investment as possible. In our plan, we talk about 800 billion in the next 5 years of investment into the sectors. But it's also important to make sure that our economic infrastructure is up to scratch. Prima spoke about the rail, spoke about road transport, but we also need economic infrastructure in the form of special economic zone, in the form of industrial parks. We must make sure that they are functional, in the form of agri-parks. All this economic infrastructure, they build the capacity of the economy to produce future goods and services. So this economic infrastructure is tied to these sectors. It's tied to the first pillar. But you also need to make sure that there are skills in the economy. We must be concerned about the current skills that we need, but also think about the future so that when we get into the future, we've got the required skills. Of course, it's very important to take into account the issue of safety and security. Very important to make sure that investments, when we've attracted them, there's law enforcement. Where there's law enforcement, you are able to attract and retain investments. MEC also spoke about the GCR, the integration. So it's very important to make sure that our province is well interconnected with our neighboring provinces in the form of Gauteng City region.
Uhlelo ke lwanamuhla lube selivalwa ngesithangami sabeyindaba lapho ke abeyindaba benikezwe ithuba lokubuza imibuzo kungqongqoshe womnyango wezezimali nokuthuthukiswa kwezeminotho kanti ke inkulumo ibe isihamba ngalendlela.
The reason we are taking this approach is because we've had a lot of time there when I hope they will give you the details of the plan. Because it's very important that you study and understand. You would have heard Dr. Mfanelo Moholwa saying that that is a very good plan. So if you hear the academics and the experts saying your plan is good, it means it's good. And the reason why it's good is because we've done a lot of work. It took us a long time to get to this plan. As the DDG was saying towards the end, it took us more than 6 months, more, I'm sure, or close to a year, just to understand properly and be sure what we want to do. We've changed for a long time, where we have had a lot of fights with the colleagues in the department on what. So this plan is well thought, and that's why even issues of measurable results by 2030. And I said when I was speaking from the floor that we are doing the modeling, economic modeling, so that we don't want to thumb suck, because it's easy to say we'll create so many jobs, we can grow the economy by this percentage and all that. But if we have not done the modeling and using methods that are scientifically proven, it will be useless. So we are so serious about the development of our economy that we don't want to do a mediocre exercise and work. We want to engage, as I said there. You saw the panel. You've got people. There is no government there who are free to criticize us. Those who compliment us is not because we're giving them anything. It's because they look at the work that we are doing and all that. So when you talk about project budget, I don't know what is that, because there is no project. Yeah, we're not going to issue any tender. There's no project. We're talking about the economy, what must happen in every sector, how must we coordinate. I made an example about 312 billion that has been raised for investment. That's not government money, it's private sector money. So there's no budget, don't worry, there's no budget. And then yeah, I mean, we do engage with CEOs of listed entities, but we have to engage even more. And as I've said, that the investment comes from big companies. It's them, but perhaps they don't want to have a lot of discussions. They want, because they've got specific issues. They want to invest, for instance, 2 billion or 3 billion, but they need this or that municipality to help them with this. They need government to help them with that and all that. So it doesn't mean we're not talking. So we are, and we have to talk to a big business so that we can be able to transform the economy. April, we've got an investment conference, second installment. And we will account on the work we have done since last year on the pledges. About 81 billion of the 312 billion is already been converted from being pledges to actual projects. So that is an immediate plan. And we are also continuing to engage with the different sectors in society. Because this, maybe in answering your question as I expand on this one, it's a living document. It's not a Bible. So you don't say it was written like this and it's going to remain like this. It's a living document. It's a guiding document. But the gist of what we want to achieve, which is economic growth, remains. Reindustrialization remains. Skills development remains. Trade and investment remains. So the gist remains important. The issue is, how do you do them? Are you still going to trade with America, for instance, because of, and you would have seen, because of the tariffs, its posture, attitudes, and all that? Not that you don't want to trade with them, but are you looking at other options? The price, I mean, I'm reading now, the rent is now at 17 rands, it's weakening because of the Middle East crisis and all that. So there are a lot of things that are involved, and that's why you can't have a document that it's like a Bible, which it's unchangeable. It remains as is. So this is a living document, which is just guiding. But when you look at the gist and the objectives of what we want to achieve, it remains intact. You want to grow the economy, you want to reindustrialize, you want to digitize, so all those things. It doesn't matter how much the world changes, we need them. The issue is, how are you going to now play and work with in the space and work with the other stakeholders. So it's that issue, and that's why the plan is agile. Yes, and that's why we're even saying, when you do the modeling, you must look at evidence base and not thumbsuck it. if you said you want to manufacture, what is the implication of the increase in the price of diesel and oil for our manufacturing efforts? How are we going to so it's agile, I agree with you, but and unfortunately science teaches you that you don't live in the conditions of your own making. So if we were to use that assumption that you determine what conditions you want to find yourselves in, then you don't decide which conditions. Those people who are in Dubai, who are in Qatar, and other Gulf states, they never saw this coming. They never anticipated that they will be bombed there. In the last month, they never, because they are not fighting with anyone. They, as far as they know, they are peaceful. There's a lot of fun there, tourism, economy. Little did they know that there's American bases there and there will be bombs directed to them. So they find themselves in those circumstances. What must they do? Must they say, oh, we didn't expect bombs? They must run away for their lives. They can't say, no, we're not running because we didn't expect bombs. So that's what we mean. You live in circumstances that are not of your own choosing. And that's why what you need to do all the time is to understand those circumstances and adapt to them. If you are not able to understand and adapt, you're going to fail. So all the time, that's why you need science. That's why you need the tools that helps you to be able to do all this. And that's why economics it requires that discipline. And you need people who are trained in that field to be able to help you through the tools that they possess to understand these prevailing circumstances and how do you adapt. So you don't use a common sense. And then the local government has got a very important role. Because as you say, if there's no water, there's not going to be economic activity. Someone was talking about the issue of water. I mean, it's simple. If you've got hotels and they don't have water or energy, tourists are not going to come, for starters. If you don't have water, you don't have electricity, there's not going to be manufacturing. So the role of local government is very, very, very important. And that's why the implementation model in the municipalities is very important, and we are interested, so that it's not just about elections. Even beyond elections, you are going to have coalitions, instability and all that. So the kind of implementation models you put in place must be tide-proof, watertight, so that they can withstand any political developments at local government level. How we do that is something that we have to discuss.
Ezindabeni zethembisa online ngingumfanelo UPhenyibheshu wakwaDzanibe. Umbiko siuqophe endaweni yase Parktown, kanti kangihambi ngedwa khona ubanele uBrazo wakwaSondlo.